I still love you. I still love you. I still love you. But I hate your ideology. I hate Sharia law. I hate Sharia law.
Can you stop now? I want to continue with these gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your concerns. Thank you for your views. Thank you very much. Can I continue with these gentlemen, please? Right. So we were talking about the notion of freedom to mock. This is what we were talking about. And you said it is okay to mock, but it is not okay to spread hate. Okay? But I gave you an example that mockery often, actually mostly, leads to dehumanization and demonization, like it did with the Jewish people. I gave you an example that Hitler and other anti-Semites used imagery to mock the Jewish people. Let me finish. They mocked the Jewish people by using imagery of the Jewish people, making the Jewish people look very evil, right? By exaggerating the size of the nose and the claw on the world, that the Jewish people are taking over the world by their money, by their influence, by their newspapers, by their political whatever, right? So Jewish people got demonized and as a result dehumanized, and lo and behold, the Holocaust.
Yes.
One example. There were many Holocausts before. The Jewish people do injustices themselves, that they only talk about the Holocaust. They need to talk about the Jewish expulsion from England in the 13th century. The Jewish expulsion from Spain.
2,300 years.
Yeah. The Jewish people were brutalized.
Full of blood.
And who saved the Jewish people? Who stood for the Jewish people? Who took the Jewish people into their arms? The Muslim civilization. The Muslim civilization. For 1,000 years. Brother, I'm not talking to you. Can you please stop?
Medina was Jewish land.
I can't ignore him because he shouts.
People were Jewish in Medina.
Listen, we moved away from you so that we can have this conversation.
That was a yeshrab at that time.
Thank you.
That was a yeshrab at that time.
So do you know the history?
The Jewish was living there.
Listen.
Jewish was living.
Thank you.
Muhammad.
Thank you.
When Jewish, they opened their hand.
Can we continue with
Muhammad?
This is what these Christian hate preachers do.
Muhammad.
They don't want us to have decent discussions.
He started killing Jews.
This group of extremists in the park, they are the ones who don't want decent discussions. They don't want intelligent discussions.
They're not listening to you.
We're not listening to you. You're wasting your breath. Can I talk to these gentlemen?
I don't care. I don't care about you.
Can I talk to these?
At least they are listening. They are listening your lie.
Okay.
They are listening your lie.
We know.
That Medina was the city.
Let the world see the Christian, the face of Christian missionary work in the park. Let the world see. Let the world see. This is the face of Christian missionaries.
When he got the power, he killed Jews.
You can't generalize them.
No, these are the sort of people who killed the Jewish people for 1,000 years. These are the sort of people. These extremists. They are the ones who brutalized the Jewish people.
They moved from
1,000 years.
Turkey. Muslim, they moved from Turkey and attacked Jerusalem. Am I right or wrong?
So move if you don't.
Am I right or wrong?
Okay.
Be right.
Okay. Can we move the cameras on the other side?
We know our history.
Okay. So I'm gonna get the.
We're here not to argue. We're here to.
Okay. We're gonna ask officer, please, 1 second.
Peace.
I'm gonna get the police on you. Wait.
Peace from Jesus.
Officer, can I have some help? We are being extremely and the physical, and we asked. I'm having a conversation with a Jewish gentleman there, and this Joshua, this guy, he is really actually getting into our faces, and he's trying to cause some sort of violence, and we're not going to do that. We don't want that. So can you advise him to be gentle and walk away, because we're not having it. We don't want to talk to him, and he's getting into our faces. We don't want to talk to him.
Push him.
Yeah, and you can ask the people if you want. Yeah. So I mean, I'm letting you know. I'm letting you know so that you know.
Letting us know, right?
Yeah.
Can I say something without you taking offense to that, right?
Yeah.
If he's coming in your space, can you
we are walking away, and he's continuously following us.
keep walking away, sir.
So you want us to go around the park?
Just go around the park, sir. I can't stop him from coming.
Okay, no problem.
Who came from Turkey?
So
Who came from Turkey to kill Jews? Who came from Turkey?
let's go and sit on those chairs.
My dear,
And I'll pay for the chairs. Come.
come. To attack.
No, minimum truth. Anymore.
Sorry?
They said who killed 6 million Jews in recent history?
Yeah.
Mansur.
No. They don't. Actually, you can't talk to extremists.
Every single
You
week
can't
it's the
talk
same
to
thing.
extremists. It's
The simple fact
unfortunately.
is that we have a very sad history with both, with Christians and Muslims.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about. I want to talk about. I can defend the Muslim history to the best of my ability. The Christians I cannot speak about. So let's have a seat, and we can talk here. Okay. And good.
Let's try.
Okay. Grab another chair if you don't mind. Yeah, I'll pay for the chairs. Don't worry about that. I'll pay for the chairs. Yeah, I'll pay for the chairs. No problem. I'll come to you. Don't worry. I'm not going to run away. Yeah. Okay. So let's sit down.
No, he's not back.
No, he's not back. He's not coming. Let's sit
It's
down.
easier to stand. I like watching you relax.
Oh, come on, man. I don't look good sitting down alone. No. I have courtesy.
It looks like
I-
you can save £2.50.
Okay, so let's continue with our discussion. So the point I was making was earlier that the Jewish people have a very unique history. The Jewish people, out of all people, they should be the first people to defend the Muslims against Islamophobia
100% agree.
and dehumanization and mockery of their religion and their sacred personalities. Because Jewish people suffered the most, historically speaking, as a minority in the Christian lands and in the Muslim lands, right? In the Muslim lands, the Jewish people were given refuge, as I claimed earlier. You seem to have a view that the Jewish people suffered as much as they suffered with the Christians.
No way, no way,
Okay,
never,
you're not saying that.
Never,
You're not
never,
saying that.
Never, no.
So what's your view
No,
on?
let's go back first
Yeah,
of all.
yeah.
Back to the first stage, I think we'll all agree.
Yeah.
We condemn Islamophobia in every shape or form.
Okay.
And that's unnegotiable. That means no human beings should be dehumanized.
Right.
That's on the perpetrator. Now, as part of the victim, I think where we would disagree is I believe that the best tool to fight dehumanization is to ignore and not to engage, and not to defend.
But then if you ignore, you get the Holocaust. How do you ignore someone like Hitler? When the governments are, for example, defending mockery of a particular people, be it religion or an ethnicity, when the governments are funding and backing and supporting dehumanization through mockery of a religion and a people, how do you ignore it? And how do you ignore the consequences? Because the Jewish people in Germany, in particular, if not other lands, they were dehumanized through mockery, because Hitler and his entourage used specific language and imagery against the Jewish people to destroy the Jewish people of Germany, right?
100%.
And he was able to do it because he was ignored. He was ignored not only possibly by the. I'm sure Jewish people didn't ignore him because they were the victims, right? But the world at large, the Western world in particular, ignored until the Holocaust had already taken place.
I would agree. I agree with you on that.
So we don't want
I'm talking about the lone wolf that dehumanizes. If I walk on the street, and you'd have people scream,
Hitler
Jew,
was not a lone
Jew
wolf.
or Heil Hitler. Then what I would. I'm not talking about Hitler. I'm talking about the lone person in the park, the lone person on the street. If I go up and confront him, I don't know what tomorrow he's going to come with his friends and meet me again in an alley. So what I would do is I would walk across the street
Let's not talk about individuals. Let's ignore the individuals, because individuals don't usually cause social impacts unless those individuals are leaders of countries, right? But individuals, Tom, Dicks, and Harry's walking on the street with mockery on the T-shirt or something like that, they can be ignored. I agree, right? They shouldn't be engaged with.
And they should be ignored.
Yeah, 100%. But when mockery becomes a state policy,
institutionalized, then you have to fight it.
And newspapers like Charlie Hebdo are mocking the Prophet of Islam or the Muslim people or the Jewish people by painting their noses big and the claw on the planet Earth and things like that. This mockery against the Jewish people, against the Christian people, against the Muslim people, this is uncivilized, it is evil, it is barbaric to say the least. This is not civilization. And dangerous. So you, the Jewish people, out of all people in the world, you should be the first people to stand up for the Muslims globally and say enough is enough. We are an example of suffering and
and people
And
who
I
have
agree with that.
Yeah,
And you
but we don't. Unfortunately, we don't see that coming.
That worry the most about it here in Britain, especially, is the board of deputies for the Jewish. The board of deputies is the one that keeps on banging on the table about the situation in China
Muslims.
with these Muslims there, right?
Okay, Uyghur issue is a politically convenient card to play today because America has an agenda against China. So America, as a government, as a state, is the last state to speak against the Uyghur oppression because Americans are the ones who killed 3 million people in Iraq, right? Americans sympathizing with the Uyghurs is like the wolf sympathizing with the herd of sheep, right? It's like wolf going to the sheep and saying, "I am here to protect you. I'm going to protect." Come on, right? We're not foolish anymore.
Why are the Muslims so quiet about it?
About Uyghurs, Muslims are not quiet. You're not looking at Muslim.
Nothing of the noise. I don't want to get into politics, but you hear none of the noise compared to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
No. It's equally. Muslims are speaking of. To Muslims, Palestine-Israel conflict has a different sort of dimension. Absolutely. Why? Because Al-Quds is sacred space for Muslims as well as for the Jewish people.
Humanitarian element of it.
Yeah.
So if you look on the numbers of people that are killed, for example, the numbers in China are far greater. The suffering that they're enduring is far greater. And there's much less noise about it. I'm asking. No. You have a misconception. The Uyghur issue is highlighted because it's a new issue, and we don't know how long it's going to go on for. So
It should go on for another day.
Sorry?
It shouldn't go on for another day.
Absolutely, 100%. If it was in our hands, it would have been stopped by now, right? But because it's a new, recent issue, and not many people are actually aware of the impact the Chinese government is having on Uyghur psychology, Uyghur existence for that matter, we're not yet aware of the full extent. But with Palestine-Israel conflict, it's been an ongoing conflict for the last 70 years, and for that reason, the impact is well known. The impact is well known.
Okay.
Gaza is a concentration camp, right? The Palestinian people don't have the right to move around. Okay,
I said we're not going to go into politics, but I'm really sorry. I don't take your answers.
I understand why you want to talk about politics when it comes to Israel. I understand completely,
I've
right?
had my fair share of political conversations.
But as human beings, as simple human beings,
I spoke purely the humanitarian cause, right?
Yeah.
If you look on the humanitarian cause, the cause in China, by the evidence that is available as of now, right? And there's quite good evidence. It looks like many more people are suffering there and enduring much greater suffering than the people of Palestine.
But that's a political question. You said you don't want to indulge in politics.
No, so I'm asking why is there so much noise about Israel-Palestine, which tells me that the Muslims are really concerned about humanitarian causes.
Okay,
and all of
if
that,
you are,
and when there's nothing about their own brethren in China.
Let me quickly address that point. The reason why
going on for a couple of years already, the situation. Good enough. If I would hear that a Jewish people are suffering anywhere in the world, I wouldn't wait for years to see the psychological.
First of all, look at Muslim history. Whenever the Jewish people suffered in the world, and they sought refuge with the Muslims gave them refuge wholeheartedly with open arms. Okay, there was no perfection.
Except when they were the perpetrators.
When were they perpetrators? When were they perpetrators? I know that.
It's easy to put it when they weren't. Under Ottoman Empire, they weren't. Under Spain, they weren't.
And that's pretty much 1,000 years.
Yes, pretty much.
1,000 years.
In these two countries, yes.
So you're just making my point. You just made my point. For 1,000 years, Muslims protected the Jewish people in Spain.
And we are grateful for those.
And I am grateful that you're grateful. But now we need your support. Our Jewish brethren, our Semitic brothers, we need your support. Not that we're not going to do what we want. We have to do politically and intellectually, intelligently for our well-being, our existence. But if the Jewish people were to support us, it would be very easy for us because Jewish people are very powerful, no doubt. Okay, Jewish people have a lot of influence.
I'm like David. I'm like David against Goliath. I'm one of
yeah, but David was very powerful. He had God's power.
That's why I'm David.
Yeah, he had God's power with him.
I made it rain today.
Okay. Right?
Listen, but there has to be a two-way street anyway.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. Look, our two-way street is our 1,000 years history. Our behavior with the Jewish people, look at it. The Jewish people were facing extinction in the Western world. Okay, when I say the Western world, I'm talking about the majority, predominantly Western Europe, right? The Jewish people were brutalized, exiled, killed and converted forcefully. When the Muslims came to Spain, the Jewish people there were being forced to convert to Christianity, right? Muslim people came in, and lo and behold,
It was the
five
greatest
centuries,
times,
5
100%.
centuries
The
of
golden
Jewish
era.
golden age, right? Your scholars like Musa bin Maimonides Rambam,
Maimonides.
born in Cordoba,
Yeah.
Judah Halevi, right? Samuel Hanagid, okay,
But it-
Hasdai ibn Shaprut,
And at
yes,
the same
Prime
period-
Minister of the Muslim government of Spain, Prime Minister, Jewish Prime Minister,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And then Ottoman land, Salonika, Istanbul. When I say Istanbul, I mean Constantinople, Galata, the neighborhood, the Jewish courts in Jerusalem, where the Jewish people had their own Beth-Dins. They could do and they could do their own cases.
And
they were-
I said, and I don't want to lessen the greatness and the gratitude we have for those years in those countries, but at the same time, let's not forget what you had happened at the same era in Yemen, in Morocco. At the same time, you had, it depended on which type of you could call it Muslim domination you had.
When was this? What period are you
At
talking
the same
about?
period of Moshe ben Maimon, the Heilige Rambam, the Holy Rambam.
Oh, you're talking about the Almohads. I have
The
spoken. Absolutely, I agree. I have spoken with Joseph about this. That Al-Mawahidun. You see, there were periods of persecution, no doubt, but those periods were temporary. They were very limited in the scope, and they were regional. They were not
To me,
widespread.
it's far more important to focus on the times we had good times together
Absolutely.
than to focus on what divides us.
1,000 years.
If we want to go what divides us, we could go back to the conception of
If we look at a tree and we see the fruit on the tree, right? The tree is full of beautiful fruit, colorful, ripe fruit for us to pluck and eat. Okay, and there is rotten fruit on the tree. Maybe 1 or 2 branches or 1 or 2 pieces, right? Are we going to focus on the rotten fruit?
That's why I said it's far easier and far.
Thank you.
And we gain
So
far more to focus.
talking about when I would look at a tree and I see fruit on the tree, I would say beautiful tree with beautiful fruit. I'm not going to focus or magnify the rotten fruit.
I
So
agree.
that's why Islam's history with the Jewish people is like that tree with beautiful fruit. Because we, even the language, the Hebrew language
Shalom alaikum,
revived.
shalom alaikum, and-
No. I mean, I'm not talking about the similarity. I'm talking about the revival of the Jewish Hebrew language, the Yiddish dialect and all that. I mean, I don't know how, the origins of the Yiddish dialect.
No,
but-
Yiddish is, no, put it this way. Wherever we lived throughout history, no difference if it was in Arab countries or it was in Spain,
Right.
the Jewish people always used the language within the country we lived in and Jewidized it, as they call it. They spoke it in an interesting dialect.
So now that it's raining, sorry, what's your good name?
And we're all getting wet.
So your good name, I didn't ask you.
Aaron.
Aaron, and your good name?
Yoel.
He's after the Prophet Joel.
Yovel. Okay.
like Prophet Joel.
Yuvel.
O-E-L.
Okay. Y-O-E-L.
And I'm like the brother of Moses.
Okay.
And my name is like the brother of Moses, Aaron. I was born on the day of his.
So
when he
gentlemen,
passed away.
you as practicing Jewish people, and I myself as a Muslim, we agree that mockery leads to dehumanization
100%.
and demonization. That causes people to be killed on a massive scale, like it happened to the Jewish people. We don't want that repeated with the Muslims.
I agree.
Okay? And we would never allow that to happen to Jewish people again.
That's
As
right.
Muslims, we stand as the defenders, as the protectors whenever we are needed. Not that the Jewish people need us anymore. Not that the Jewish people are very powerful.
We are family. We are family.
Yes, we are family.
Ismail and Isaac were brothers.
Absolutely. But we need to really demonstrate that in Israel and Palestine conflict.
I'm going to
as well.
leave that out there, Ari, but where we do focus together is when it comes to shchita, is to halal meat. I think we work together.
Yeah, I eat kosher. I eat
No,
kosher.
but I think even where we
because
You've got good taste buds.
yeah, absolutely. I do because kosher is halal.
Yeah.
For me, kosher
No,
is,
but we
our
work
Prophet
together.
told us, because the Jewish people, they read the name of God on their food, you eat it, right? He was not an anti-Semite because he was Semite himself, right? What happened between him and the some of the Jewish tribes was because the history is very clear on that.
we have two. Let's put it this way: we have two different experiences.
Yeah.
That means you have the Muslim perspective and we have the Jewish perspective, but we're not going to go into what divides us. That's the focus.
Yes, absolutely.
There's two different perspectives for the people.
I would recommend some books for you from Jewish historians who have written on these topics. One is Jacob Lasner. He's from the US. He has written about the Jewish experience under Islam. Then there is Bernard Lewis. You must know him. He was an expert in Islamic history. He died recently. Although not very sympathetic to the Muslim civilization, but he did praise the Muslim civilization for the Jewish.
What do you mean? The Muslim civilization gave the world a lot, from algebra to much more. In the good days in Spain. In the good days in Spain.
You see, when people talk about
Shadow, yeah?
Sorry?
Sunlight and Shadow, the Jews experience, yeah.
And the other book is Christians, Jews under Islam or something like that.
I think we're going to get under the trees.
Yeah, let's go. So,
But that's what we.
Someone needs to call.
guys, you need to bring your cameras and the mics are with me.
Together.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Vegard and I'm a Norwegian Muslim convert. I'm working with the Dawah organization Islamnet to establish the Deen of Allah here in Norway. We give Dawah and present Islam to the Norwegian people. Isn't that great? To be more efficient in our Dawah, we are establishing a first of its kind Masjid and Dawah Center, where we will have Islamic programs, classes, lectures and education for non-Muslims. I am so grateful to Allah for having guided me to Islam. Sadly, I am the only Muslim in my family. It hurts me that my parents haven't accepted Islam yet, and I ask Allah to guide them. But it also gives me a special drive to work for the establishment of Islam. I don't want anyone to miss the chance of becoming Muslim. Maybe my mom and dad become Muslim one day thanks to you. If we can establish this center, I could bring my parents to come and learn about Islam in our native language, which is a challenge today with the mosque here speaking Somali, Arabic and Urdu. The Prophet ﷺ said that the Muslims are like one body. If you can feel my pain, would you please help me relieve it? You are now my new family. Click the link and donate to establish this masjid and share in the reward for the message of Islam reaching the corners of Norway.